Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, it's me. I'm back, sharing another story about my dad. This is day 16. The last time I shared a story, I talked about my dad's fish fry and how great it was, and how great he was when it came to cooking fish. Anyways, talking about that reminded me of another memory that I wanted to share with my dad. It wasn't just with my dad; it was also with my cousin Justin and his dad Danny. I think my Uncle Chris was there. Uncle Chris, I don't remember if you were up there, but obviously if you've seen any videos or if you know my dad, you know fishing and hunting were a big thing. And so not surprising, this is going to be a story about fishing. But my dad always, even this past summer, he would go up to Canada and go fishing. And when I was younger, there was a couple times we did fly-in fishing trips, if you don't know what those are. We weren't flying into Canada to go fishing. We were driving up to Canada, and then we piled all of our stuff onto a floating plane. If you don't know what those are, look it up. And the plane would take off from the lake, so not on a runway, but literally on the lake. And then it would fly to the lake we were going to, and it would land on the lake that we were going to. And so, one of the best things about that was you were the only one on the lake for the time that you were there. And that was awesome. And the fishing was always really, really great. But for some reason, there was one particular time that sticks out to me more than the other times that we went. I was probably, I don't know how old Justin and I were, but 14, not old enough to drive, but old enough to drive our own boat. So he and I actually think this was he and I and Danny and my dad. But we had our own boat, and my dad and Danny had their own boat. And so we kind of went our separate ways on the lake. But when you go fishing at these places up in Canada, like the lakes are just, because they're not fished a lot, they're definitely not overfished, because these lakes are remote. No one lives on the lakes. So the fish mostly are unbothered most of the time, except when people come up and fish for a couple days on a weekend or whatever. So you just catch, you can't not catch fish. It's just one of the best experiences ever. And so I remember, we were on a lake that had northerns and walleyes, probably had some perch, maybe some sunfish, I don't remember for sure, but definitely northerns and definitely walleyes. And I mean, you threw your lure out there and you had a fish in, just boom, like that. It was awesome. And even with these small northern pike, the small ones still would just fight and fight and fight to get in the boat, and it was just so much fun. But by far, the best thing about it was, we'd go out in the morning. You catch your limit of fish in the morning, for the most part, unless you just threw them all back. But if you wanted your limit, you could get your limit. And we would go home. We'd go back to the cabin, clean the fish, and then just fry them up right there. I mean, by far, right, the freshest fish you could ever possibly have, because the fish you were eating, you literally had caught at most 3 hours before you ate it, but oftentimes an hour before you ate it. Never had better fish. And that trip, I think, was also the first time the previous group that was up there had left behind some fish fry coating that was called Louisiana fish fry. First time we'd ever heard of it, ever seen it. Now you can get it in grocery stores, but back then we had never heard of it. And man, was that some really good fish fry stuff. And so just such a wonderful memory of being up there catching fish. I miss fishing. I haven't been fishing in a very long time, but did lots of fishing with my dad, lots of fishing with my grandpa on my mom's side when I was very young. But just a good memory. Loved going up there fishing with my dad. Anyways, that's my story for today. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. Until next time, peace out.